Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. My name is Candace Gish, and I'm the host of this program. Well, I'm so excited that you guys have all tuned in today. We're going to have a great show for you. If it's your first time to the Divas That Care Network, you know, our program has been running now for 10 years. We have amazing hosts that are interviewing people from around the world. We're listened to now in 30 countries, and we're so excited about that. So welcome to all of you, and if you have a chance, check out our hashtag. It's Divas That Care. And what you'll find is some amazing people that are doing extraordinary things. So we always want to follow them and seeing what they're doing. Today, I'm going to be welcoming back a good friend of mine. And, you know, she's been on our program before. I had the opportunity to have her in one of our anthologies for the Divas That Care. She's a beautiful woman. She is absolutely extraordinary. She's inspiring. She's empowering. She's doing so much in this world to make it a better place. And I'm just always so excited when I have the opportunity to chat with her. Charity, welcome to the program. I'm so excited to have you back.
Hi, Candace. How are you? Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. You know what? It's always a great time when you and I get a chat. We had opportunity a couple minutes before the show just to say, hey, how are you doing? And just to see how you're doing with everything that's happening in the world. And, you know, you are a perfect person to have on our program today. As I said, you are so inspiring. I love having you on all the time and just chatting with you. But before we kind of dive into everything that you're doing today, could you kind of share a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your background for all of our new listeners today?
Sure, certainly I'd be happy to. Just to kind of give you a brief little snapshot of who I am. I'm the CEO of Grit to Glory. That's an empowerment company where we teach women how to elevate their mindset, clarify their message, monetize their message. But to try to tell you a little bit about my background, just in a little quick snapshot, Grit to Glory, you know, comes from a place of really, it's kind of built from who I am, right? The best breeding comes from that, right? It's really built in areas kind of in a way, you know, Candace, and how things are going today. If it's okay, I'm gonna kind of weave my story into the way a lot of people might feel today, in the times that we're facing right now. Okay, so if you'll just go with me for a second, you know, 12 years ago, I found myself in a position where I was in my 20s. I was a young mom. I was an early mom, right? I had my first daughter when I was like 19 years old, and you know, I had kind of a turbulent childhood, right? And so I found myself 12 years ago in a situation where I would call it my rock bottom, right? And everybody else has a different type of rock bottom, right? It looks different for different people. But for me, mine looked like that I was homeless. I was walking back and forth to my retail job, and I was really lost, okay? And so, you know, kind of the things that I say, and I don't say this in a way, because it's really, honestly, it's like, you know, I don't know if it's the best thing to kind of brag about, but you know, for those that are in a place where they feel like that they're rock bottom, or they're scared, or they're leaning more towards fear, or they're finding themselves, you know, paralyzed in fear, and it's keeping them from, you know, stretching into their gifts, I'll tell you that, you know, I feel as though I have a PhD in turning setbacks into comebacks, okay? So as I was homeless, right, 12 years ago, I remember just trying to figure things out for my kids, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. You know, I was young, 22, 23 years old. And I remember one day I walked to the recruiter station's office that was there in the small town that I was in a homeless shelter in. And I remember pacing outside the back of that door, like just pacing and pacing and pacing and thinking, you know, is this the next right step for me, right? Because I was so determined, Candace, to not be a statistic. You know, I grew up in kind of a lower poverty type mindset. You know, things like that. And I remembered as a little girl making a vow to myself that wouldn't be the same kind of mindset that I would, you know, adopt and pass on to whoever, right, to my children even. And in that particular situation, the answer for me was to go ahead and walk in and have a conversation with those guys. And so that's what I did. I joined the United States Army, and that ended up being one of the best decisions that I ever did make. Along that journey, you know, I did a tour in Afghanistan. I learned a lot about myself, right? It really helped develop me. It helped develop what already I felt like was a foundation of being an overcomer. You know, I was kind of a gritty kind of girl. You know what I'm saying? Pretty tough.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Life would chew me up and spit me out a couple times, but I was persevering, all the time. So I joined the military. There I did not necessarily find personal development. Okay, it was a couple of years into my military term that I ran into what I believe is one of the best industries in the world, and was my gateway to entrepreneurship, and that's network marketing. And so in network marketing, I was able to truly transform like my mind. I was able to learn better leadership skills. I was able to work with people all over the world. Grew a very large organization around the world, scaled multiple millions in sales around the world, helped a lot of people make a lot of money, and helped a lot of people achieve their dreams. And, did that for quite a while, nearly a decade, and then transitioned out and decided, you know what, I'm going to keep doing what it is that I have done in network marketing, but I'm going to do it in a way where that I'm still teaching people how to elevate their mindset, right? I'm still teaching people how to go after what they desire and designing success and whatever that looks like for them, right? So clarifying their message in regards to what, where do you want at? What can you teach? What can you monetize? What's passionate in your heart, right? And helping them really get crystal clear on that, creating a brand, creating an online marketing strategy, and then monetizing their message. And so that's I'm like, okay, I know that's maybe a long walk around the block, but that's a little bit about me. That's a little about what I'm up to these days, a little bit in the way that I'm, showing up to serve the world, to use my gifts.
Oh, I love it. And that's what you are. You're definitely using your gifts. I had the opportunity to meet you years ago when you were a part of Network Marketing Company, and I always thought, oh, she is just a ray of sunshine. You were just had the biggest smile on your face. I'm like, you're doing what you love, and now you're teaching others to do the same thing. And I love it. I love what you are doing. I love the messages that you're offering. I love that you're the founder of the Grit to Glory, and it sounds like a thing that a lot of people will be able to use out there.
Oh, 100%. Really, I would say that the three pillars that I focus on most, I know I've said over and over again, elevating mindset, clarifying message, monetizing message. But, all I've really done is I've said, okay, where have I thrived? What is my competitive advantage? Like, how can I help people win that I feel that is better than other people? And that doesn't mean necessarily from an egotistical standpoint, right? We all have a story, and that's what makes us unique. But I really feel like that's inside of the mindset, sales, and leadership. And so, I'm showing up just to say, like, hey, listen, it doesn't have to, maybe you got knocked down, or whatever it is kind of thing. I'm not always, or the clients that I'm working with, people that are, homeless, right? But we all face adversity in business. The difference that's going to set the person apart, that's going to go that extra mile, that's going to be a part of that 1% that's making, the huge difference in the world, is their ability to overcome, their ability to pivot, their ability to be versatile, their ability to grow their competence, that next degree, their ability to grow their confidence, that next degree. Because I'm a firm believer in, whatever brought us to the moment that I'm in right now, and the moment that everyone's in at this moment, in regards to how they're showing up and the game that they're playing in. And the next level, if they choose to go into that next level, they will be a different person. They will have different confidence. They will have different confidence. It will be a transformation of mindset, of skill set, of everything. And so I'm showing up, leadership is a transfer of belief. It's going first. It's moving first. It's being a person that says, you know what? There's so often people, Candace, say, I want to be a leader. And it's like, okay, great. Well, what impact are you making in the world? Because they're paralyzed to move. But what is leadership? Leadership is movement. And when you begin to move, people follow. And so I'm standing here saying, you know what? There's been times that have been uncertain. In this day and age, right at this moment, this is the craziest thing ever. Like, I've sat in my room and like, what in the world is happening?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And honestly, it's had I've had those moments that I'll be, humbly say, like, that I felt knocked off course just a little bit, where it was like, what in the world? What do we do? What do I keep speaking this message? Like, there's all these questions, all these uncertainties, all these doubts, but it's learning to go, you know what? I'm shutting that down, because yes, this is a crisis. Yes, this is what's happening in the world, but that doesn't mean that we don't stand up as leaders and lead. And so now even more so is it important for us to show up and lead and empower. And I feel like my church is coming out a little bit. I'm getting fired up,
I love it. And that's what I was going to ask you this is probably the perfect time for people to, get up and let's do this. Because, we're at home, we're doing things, and I think it's really important to keep moving and to be motivated and to do the things that we need to do in order to get past this and into the next stage. I think that the leaders will come out of the woodworks because they're going to have that realization that, what, instead of just sitting back and waiting, we need to start moving now.
Absolutely. That's the gameplay right now, is to where we would rather, our brain is designed to protect us, right? And, I don't have to go and talk about scientific things. Like, that's not really like, my MO kind of thing. But it's scientifically proven that our brain is designed to protect us. So in moments where, like, even I shared where I was like, oh, my gosh, it was almost like it was one of those things where you almost want to go into hiding. You want to do something that feels safe, that feels within your comfort zone. But absolutely, as we talked about, leadership is moving forward. It's stepping out. It's saying, you know what, follow me. Because there's a lot of people out there, honestly, that they are scared. And there's a lot of people with a lot of talent and a lot of gifts. And, that before this even happened, that there was momentum in their businesses, whatever one that was at, or whatever space, place, blah, 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 wherever that might have been, their momentum, and whatever they were doing in their business, there might have been some people that they had already overcome some pretty large, like, mental, breakthroughs, and they were just on the edge of doing some things, and then all of a sudden this comes along, and it just feels like you get flatlined almost, But I want to be the voice that says, hey, listen, get back up. It's okay, all right? I know you don't totally know what's going to happen, but I will tell you in the moments where it was a choice between faith and fear, I would encourage anybody to listen to this, that they would lean into the faith. And I know that sometimes people say, well, that's easy to say, right? But I will tell you from experience that it is in those moments where faith over fear, choosing that, is what built me. It doesn't mean that you're not afraid. It doesn't mean that you're not going to feel fear, okay? I don't think that we don't ever not feel fear at every level, as long as we're continuously expanding. But the objective is to get more courage, to get in alignment with people that have that courage that you're seeking, that you want to develop in your life, that have the confidence, that have the competence, that have all those things, and to take action. It's not the time to slow down. It's the time to lean in, because I will tell you this, there were moments where I didn't know what I was going to do. There were moments in my life where I lost everything. I've done it more than once. And I remember, sitting in a living room with no furniture, like nothing in my house, and not sure, like there was so much uncertainty, Candace, like that it was like, I don't even know, like, what I'm doing. And it's in those moments that if I had not have chosen faith over fear, fear would have paralyzed me. Fear would have taken me out, like, straight up. And I know that's kind of a funny way to say that. But it would have taken me out. And instead, because I leaned into that faith, and not just faith and saying, oh, I'm just faithful kind of thing, but it was like, okay, what's the next right step? And even if it was a small step, I remember, being in a situation like that, and I'm just being straight up about this. Like, I remember being in a particular situation like that where, like, I didn't even know. I remember, like, investing, like personal development is a huge thing for me. And I remember, like, taking $111 because I didn't even have $100. I was like, I don't have $111, but I remember investing myself so that I could be in that energy of somebody that was leading and that had that courage and that was doing all this stuff. And I remember plugging into that and, like, just assessing, okay, well, this is the next right step for me, so I'm going to take this inspired action. And I didn't understand. I had vision of where I wanted it to go, right? But I didn't understand necessarily. It was like invisible air. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you're stepping and you're like, I'm going to fall.
Oh, like yeah.
Every single time.
It's hard for people. Yep.
Yes. Every single time I always landed on solid ground, though, And so that's the thing, is in this moment, it's like, I know it's scary. I know that there's uncertainty. I can relate because I can remember, 12 years ago. I can remember a few years ago. I can remember moments where it was like, man, like, this is, I got to dig deep. I got to get my grit, get my grit factor on.
I do. And Charity, I want to ask you too, because a lot of people are thinking, oh yeah, I get that. She's doing that. But I want to kind of dive into, a lot of people are worried, like, well, I can't do this. My children are at home. I've got other I'm kind of housebound now. can you address that? Because I know you've been a homeschool mom. On top of that, you've got, yeah. So I want to kind of dive into a little bit of that how you were able to balance it all.
Absolutely. Well, I think balance is a little bit of a myth,
That is true.
Always, we strive for it, right? But, I really feel like in the moments where it's like, well, I mean, this can either be my tombstone or it could be my stepping stone, right? And with my children at home, which they're older now, but, in the decade that I built network marketing, they were home. Like, that's what we strive for, was full-time family and helping others have a full-time family. And, we just found ways that there was just structure, if that makes sense. Now, what we've got kind of going on right now today, it's not necessarily homeschool because, like, it's like confined inside of a home, and
yes,
we
exactly.
used to do stuff, but it's just finding creative ways to do that, to set boundaries and like just structure, as much structure for me. This is what works for me. Inside of these kind of things, I thrive in situations like this because it's like, okay, this is the structure, this is the time, and you're going to be working on this, and we're going to be working on this, and it was weaving things into the pocket of my life. So maybe early in the morning I'm working on things now. Maybe it's later at night that I'm working on things, or whenever the kids are doing something else, I'm working on something. If that makes sense. So it's like it's still just being creative with how we can structure our time with this shift, right? I have another system that I teach in regards to like, different color Post-its and color blocking your time and things like that under these different circumstances, which you could still kind of probably implement that, right? But,
you can.
I think it's just being intentional. You have to be intentional and get in the driver's seat of your life, or at least be the co-pilot, and let the divine, right? Because we're all connected to a divine. I believe that, whatever it is that you believe in your faith, but something bigger, a bigger power than ourselves. Let them be the driver, right? So surrender and trust, lean into that faith, sit in the co-pilot, and do your job. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And I find it's exciting. It's, as much as it's a scary time right now and people are confused and stuff, I find it exciting, and I always think of the possibilities. So I try to turn things around and say, okay, now what can we do? What can we do to make things better? How can we just grow and change and evolve?
Oh, 100%. I believe I'm in alignment with you on that. How do you say that? A possibilitarian? What is, right? Like, what's possible? What can we learn from this? What is this teaching us? I've noticed myself with some things that it's really some of the simple simplicities. Now, we've only been really kind of home, confined to our home now, I guess, over a week or so. I feel like that's about how long it's been. I don't know exactly because the days are blurring together. But in that initial like transition of everybody, kind of being at home and the kids being home and all the things, there was it was actually kind of nice to kind of slow down and, to see the kids be like, I have teenagers now. And so like, I even kind of saw them do like, how would you say it? Like my 12-year-old, who will be 13 next month, she's kind of slowing down a little bit. I've seen her like be little again. Does that make sense? Like it's just a fast-paced environment.
I have seen that.
She pulled up.
Exactly.
Have you?
Well, when you're so used to going 24/7, and you're, with myself, I was driving to the city 5 days a week, doing sports, doing this and that, and eating on the run, and you're always going. And then to be able to embrace the moments. Live in that moment of time, and you're just enjoying it, whatever it is that you're doing, you're together, and it's almost relaxing, I guess you could say. I feel more relaxed in my life, and I know that with everything going on, it is a very stressful time, but I feel at the same time, though I am stressed with wondering what's going to happen, I'm very relaxed and in the moment of what is happening around me.
100%, and just knowing that at this moment, all we really have, so we don't really have the past and we don't really have the future, but we have the present. And so just really truly using that as like the gift that it is. And, that in itself and taking those things and being intentional with that when we get on the other side of this, because we will certainly be on the other side of this.
Oh, that is so true. I love it. And I love all the stuff that we're chatting about today, because I think it's something people are talking about. Things are everybody's kind of thinking about. They are living in the moment, but they're thinking about the future, and everything is uncertain. And you've got this opportunity to work with a lot of these people out there. Charity, how can they get a hold of you in order to perhaps have that conversation with you?
I would love for them to connect with me. I love making new friends. They can connect with me on my social media platforms. Facebook is primarily, I have a business page, which is Charity Schaefer, but also my friends page. Connect with me there, or I guess it was everybody my friends, but my personal page, they can connect with me there. I do a weekly series every single week on Sundays where I'm giving free value, free training, free inspiration. I have a Facebook group, #Grit2Glory Gladiators. I do some free inspiration and challenges and things in there, build some community there. And then, of course, they can also connect with me on Instagram. And that's also my name, at Miss, MRS, Charity Schaefer. So I'd love that. Just reach out, say hi, peek around, snoop around, whatever you want to call it. And, hopefully that somewhere you'll find some value, right, that'll help serve you in your life in this moment.
Oh, I love that. And everybody that has the Instagram, you really have to check out her page. It is absolutely beautiful. The pictures that she posts are just amazing of her and what she's doing. And those in itself are, for in regards to selfies and all that, I just think they're beautiful and they do inspire people. But I'm going to be posting all of Charity's social media links on our Facebook so that all of you guys can check that out too. Well, Charity, I have one last thing for you today. Would you mind sharing any tips or tools for our amazing listeners?
Gosh, I mean, aside from what I've already said, it's really just in this moment in time, even if you're feeling scared in this moment or uncertain, that, as I said, this too shall pass, and you'll either look back. And this isn't a scare tactic. This isn't cliche. This isn't anything like that. But you'll look back, say we're on the other side of this in 90 days. And you'll look back in 90 days and you'll go, gosh, I sure am glad that, I didn't dabble, right? Because the stars don't align for those that dabbled. But I used this time where things slowed down to position my family and myself and my future and my business to be ahead. And so you'll either look back and you'll say, gosh, I'm glad I did, or gosh, I wish I had of. And I'm just going to encourage you to lean into that faith and to take that inspired action, go after ascending to the person that you truly are born to be. And I know that's broad and that's big vision, but I believe every person on this planet was born to ascend from the time that we were born. That's what we do, right? We were born. We didn't learn to crawl. We didn't learn to walk. We didn't learn to run. We are born to ascend. And so I would just encourage you to lean into that, to dig in, with some grit and some tenacity and some perseverance, and just really get after what you were created for, and whatever that gift is that's been put on your heart. And it may not all come at once, so that's okay, but just to lean in.
Oh, I love it. That is so beautiful. I really enjoyed having our conversation today. You are amazing, girl. I just love having you on all the time and just chatting with you. Make sure to all of our listeners to go check out Grit2Glory. You're going to love it. She is, it's amazing. I love what you're doing, Charity. You are, as I said, you are an inspiration, and you're doing so many great things out there. So thank you so much for being my guest.
Well, likewise to you, Candace. I mean, you're leading the charge in so many ways, and you're such an incredible connector and building a community of women, of just people that are making a difference. And so thank you so much. My hat's off to you. I'm honored to call you a friend. And this is a big deal. I appreciate you having me on the show today. I really do.
I love having you too. Oh, and thank you to all of our amazing listeners. It's because of you we've continued to do this for 10 years. You can listen to all of our shows on Spotify, iTunes, really anywhere that you can pick up on iTunes, pick up any of the podcasts. You can also check us out at divasthatcare.com. So we have all these amazing women that have been on our program. So make sure that you check out all of those podcasts, check out all of our hosts that are on our program. And you know what? I hope that each and every one of you has an amazing day and that you do something kind for somebody out there. So take care, and we will talk to you guys all soon. Bye-bye for now.